We're going to talk about the different zones of Hypnospace and the drama that they go through throughout the game in
All
every
right.
single section of time in it.
Okie doke. And I think the first one that you get access to with your first case in the game is Good Time Valley, if I do recall correctly.
Good Time Valley, the old people zone,
Yeah.
which the first case you receive is for copyright claims on the old character Gumshoe Gooper, which is the detective fish,
Oh, we
Where-
love a good goop.
where where you find most of them from the first grade teacher.
Mm-hmm. And it's always very interesting because especially with both of us on the side, we do a lot of content creation on the internet, and it's very funny to be on the dealing end of content IDing. And so it's always, I guess, it's a very funny first case to start off with in the first place, and all of this going to just simply going to a first grader class and just seeing such blatant copyright infringement, especially for us. It's very funny because in our heads, we are just immediately like, you are an absolute buffoon.
You go up to this page. You get the top here where it's like a 3D modeled Gumshoe Gooper, which, maybe that one counts. But then,
The very first one.
yeah, and then you scroll down, and it's like, oh, yeah, these are the Gumshoe Goopers my class have drawn. So, first one, a 7-year-old's drawing, which is a claimable drawing.
Almost all of them are, except for, I believe, one or two of them.
This
Because
one
they're
from
so
Todd
poorly
that doesn't have an
done,
age.
they cannot be perceived as the copyrighted character.
Yeah, and then as the game progresses, this kind of sparks like a revolution in Good Time Valley between all the old people, starting the Stand with Gooper movement.
It's very interesting because, again, it's a lot of similarities to just how older people perceive internet, because a lot of them probably were very used to plentiful, like, bootlegged products of, like, copyrighted material. But in the age of the internet, and especially during, like, the time where it's supposed to be, like, similar to the birth of the internet, it's always very funny because they're used to being able to do whatever they want whenever they want. And so when stuff like this is so easily monitored and policeable, it's very hard for them to understand that. So they think of it as an infringement of their own American rights. And as we're watching this very same webpage, you can hear glory, glory, hallelujah. And it's like, it's our basic American right to use your copyrighted character.
Yeah, as you reach the second section, or the first time skip of the game, which goes from November 5th to now November 26th, there's a new page on Good Time Valley just titled Stand with Gooper. And it's just a page that's talking about they don't want their freedom of speech taken away and such. And it's just covered in broken images where images have been claimed and removed. And I believe whenever you go here again for the first time, there's like 10 Goopers on this page that you can still claim.
It's just, again, it's actually very funny because it is literally the equivalent of that SpongeBob meme of all of the fish, and they go, "How many times we got to teach you this lesson, old man?"
and then extending from that, as you if you just look through the rest of the pages on Good Time Valley at that time, you'll find more Goopers just scattered around, along with just badges for the Stand with Gooper movement, and you can claim all of those, which ends up in being able to like flag for removal like half of the zone, I think.
It's crazy because, again, they're in their heads, they're just like, again, their older mentality. They're just like, we have a basic human right to do whatever we want. But now that, brands can have a lot more control over what is seen on the internet, especially nowadays. Oh my gosh, especially nowadays. It's really interesting because, again, this is supposed to be kind of the beginning of very early internet as it is. And so it's very interesting to see how the people of especially the world of Hypnospace just have this immediate, like, the beginning of what would now be like pretty commonplace with copyrighted material being a very much a taboo.
I'm still scrolling through here. I forgot that the Celtic Warlock guy was 63 years old.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I
I
always
thought he was
assumed
way
he was
younger.
like in his mid-30s.
Yeah, I thought
That's what I always thought.
he is like, I think, the youngest one on Good Time Valley, but still 60 is pretty up there.
Yeah, I guess for some reason I always perceived him because he had like all of these graphical effects that he had in store. I always
he has,
assumed him as like his 30s or 40s, but this is literally old people website collection. I don't know why I always perceived that.
I think he gives off that vibe because he's like also one of the most technologically literate of the Good Time Valley
absolutely.
crew. Other than I think like one more, which was like, I forgot her name. Her page is unlisted because she was on NetSettler before Hypnospace was out, and you can see her contacting with Minx later.
Oh yeah.
Who else do we got here? I think that's November 26th done. And okay, so since this is all audio, you didn't get to hear it, but we went ahead to December 31st, 1999, which is one of the last sections of the game. And it starts playing
the national anthem.
The national anthem.
As a giant gumshoe gooper stands defiant against modern man.
Essentially, this shows that Good Time Valley's rebellion was successful against Merchant Soft, and they gave up on like claiming all the goopers, and now the zone is like entirely gooper themed.
Which is in stark contrast of how that works nowadays. Oh my goodness. The very much the bait and switch that was this part of the game. It's funny. Again, just with what we do. And I think especially at this point, I don't think you can you even claim them at that point in the game?
No.
I don't think you can claim them anymore.
At the version, the save that I'm currently using, all of the content tools are blocked,
right.
but
So I guess we
you
couldn't
can't
test
claim it
that.
at this time anyways.
Yeah,
I remember trying that.
Yeah, I'm sure they were just like, we really need people to stay on this thing. We can't afford this amount of outrage.
If you go back to the first grade teacher's page, she also has a new page where her class has drawn new goopers for Christmas.
Aww. I don't think I actually got to see this part when I played. That is so sweet.
The December 31st time skip is probably the least looked at time skip in the game because there's very big events going on at Teentopia.
Oh yeah. Isn't that
so
when, like, the
people
whole,
don't
like,
tend to look at the rest of the zones?
I know we're going to be talking about this in the future in a bit, but I remember that's when the whole like mind crash happens, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That would be why the next skip would be the modern day intranet, which doesn't have access to any of the zones.
Wow. Also, just to talk about how this game, I'm sure we won't be talking about this to an extent, but one of my favorite things about this is that it tries to do the whole Wayback Machine concept, and I think it does it really well, and I think it does it in a very cool way. Just with, again, you're doing this. This game takes place over multiple years of this early internet, and I find it very cool whenever you just go back, then you get to look back and forth of just how, even in that small amount of time, the internet can change so much. And especially nowadays, that is very much the case.
I know it's not necessarily in the vein of what we're targeting here, but I really want to talk about Mavis.
Go ahead.
Mavis is my favorite character from Good Time Valley.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, she's just an old lady. Like, if I remember, actually, let me. Yeah, if you look in this first section of the game, her page is just a bunch of broken links, and then in the background you can see, "Hi, I just signed on. Hello, is this chat room? Help me, help page, help manual. How to get help? Hello, exit, and then an ad for Boppos."
Oh my god. And it's like, it's funny actually, a few days, and this reminds me, I had to help my grandparents with their internet, and they couldn't understand that when they disconnected from their Wi-Fi, they had to put the password back in because it didn't like save the password anymore. So I had to have a genuine yelling match with my grandmother about how how you need a password for your Wi-Fi signal, like stuff like that. And again, it's just this whole area of hypnospace even then just shows how older generations that might be a little more stubborn in thinking they know how everything works as soon as they can pick it up. And especially with the rise of technology, it's always fun to see them clearly falling on their face.
Yeah,
It
her
is
first
beautiful.
version of the page is like very clearly like a reference to how like old people would like make Facebook pages back in the day and then like use it as Google. You just
Yes,
never get a
yes.
result. You just see them like looking up things.
There's still so much, and that's
It still
also just such a
happens. Yeah.
common. It's still such a common trope when it comes to media of like how maybe their dad will be like typing stuff in text messages, and it'll be like them trying to like look up stuff, and the kids are horrified of what their dad is trying to research.
Oh yeah, looking at Mavis's status is up here too. The first status she has for November 5th is exit hypnospace exit.
It is kind of funny because it is kind of reminiscent of like those old like text-based adventure games back in the day. And maybe that's all they knew when it came to computers, and so they just think
Yeah, like typing commands
exit,
on
leave me
docs.
alone. I just want to
DOS,
go
I mean.
home. Oh yeah. Your old like your King's Quests, your space quests.
And then the middle time skip, November 26th, her free trial has ended. But you can
Oh
see in the
no.
background like she's made progress cuz now if you read through all the like squiggled out bits because of the trial, you can see hello, my name is Mavis. I live in Florida. Welcome all. You can't really read the rest of the text on the page because it's so covered up.
Yeah. I'm sure
But at the
someone
top,
was maybe able to decode it.
yeah, at the top you can see Gearhead Greg, which is from the cafe zone, which doesn't hold any like story significance or like drama or anything because it's mostly like a merchant soft zone.
Mm-hmm.
But he helped her out with like learning to use Hypnospace. So she's
Aw.
like making progress and like actually like setting it up and everything.
It's
And
just like
she gets the full game. She gets the full thing in December 31st,
oh.
where she's spending New Year's Eve on Hypnospace, which is very unfortunate because that's why she also makes me very sad to think about.
Oh, right. I
But yeah, she's
forgot
like,
about that part of the game.
yeah, she ends up having like actual working links on her page, going to her friends from Good Time Valley and everything that she's met. Alan is giving her lessons on how to use it.
Gosh. And again, it's just the fact that they went to the degree that they did to have all of these merging and weaving plot lines in this giant intricate pardon my pun, but web of just characters and events all in like in different timelines as well. Like all the kudos go to the people that had to just I'd hate to imagine the storyboard or like what is it like the idea web of like everything and how everything connects. Ugh, I would shudder to try to even see the early stages of them trying to make this work.
Yeah, I'm looking through Mavis's friends right now. Okay, yeah, Alan is the warlock guy. He helps her out. I don't remember the Noble Smiley's page, but
Yeah, no, that is freaky as hell. Pardon my French, but yeah.
the Margaret is a dead link.
Hmm.
That's interesting to know. Yeah. Oh wait. Oh, okay. Never mind. I think I remember. I think Margaret might be one of her relatives.
Oh, okay. It is really nice to whenever you get to see like your family member finally understand your like how the internet relatively works. Partly because you're like, oh, finally, it's nice of them to learn and grow and all that jazz. But then it's also like, thank God I do not have to be called every 5 minutes to be asked about the exact same tech issue.
All right. Well, okay. I think we did cover Good Time Valley pretty solidly here. So we'll move
Yeah,
on to Teentopia now, which is surprisingly like one of the most like connected to the main story of the game's zones, I think.
it is by far the most returned to throughout the story.
Yeah, and then I think following that one is probably like the second most important would probably be Starport Castle Dream Station.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, okay, so first see a site of Teentopia in November 5th. There's not a lot going on. It's just harassment cases with Zane, who is
Yes.
just the teenager.
It is the definition of, I don't know, I'm terribly sorry to the professor, but unfortunately, you can censor me, but the literal definition of a shithead is Zane. It is the most full of himself, like edge so thick you would actually cut yourself. Like
Yeah, he's got
is
the Linkin Park
bad.
like playing on his page here. Explosions everywhere, guns spinning around. First thing
Has
you
the
see on
little
his page.
goatee.
First thing you see on his page is a picture of him that with just the text "sexy both on and offline."
It is a treat, and later on you get to learn more about Zane. But there's also, to the point that like Zane is by far one of the most popular characters in the Hypnospace franchise. To the point
He
that
he leaves an impact on people. He got his own spin-off.
definitely. He gets his own spin-off game. It's the only one for now in the Hypnospace universe that has his own spin-off game where it is a Doom clone full of like a guy that holds his gun sideways. He's got a sword. He's got he turns into Dante from Devil May Cry.
Yeah, it's
And
like a combo of like Doom and Duke Nukem, right?
very much so. Absolutely. With like the quips and the crass humor throughout it all. It is just oozing with edge and just wanting to present himself as the coolest guy that gets all the girls and gets all that. It is very much a representation of all the people that try so hard to live life as this very cool and very respected person when in real life maybe they're a little more introverted and they're a little more they're very different than how they are in real life.
Speaking of getting the girls, that's relevant to to like I think one time skip ahead, but for the current time skip at November 5th, the thing you are sent in to check out is Zane's harassment case, which teaches you about the unlisted pages that you can only find through searching.
Mm-hmm.
So you find his comic where he's making fun of Corey, which is another Teentopia user, the band geek kid.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Who's like super into pizza and really wants everyone to know that he either has a girlfriend or does not at different times in the story. But also, conversely to Zane, he also, like, while not reported and not the reason for the investigation, you can report him for harassment as well, because he makes his own separate page to hate back on Zane.
Yeah, and it's very true. And again, this very much shows the cycle of like how people can react to each other on the internet, and especially in the early age of the internet, there was still a form of like with the unlisted links and all the unlisted websites being able to think that you can get away with it, especially with the anonymity of the internet and just how you can present yourself to be a completely different person. It is very, again, so well done, especially when you have to outwardly try to search for hidden websites. Not only does it show like how the internet used to work back then, but it just shows the character, like how in real life you would just, instead of this, you would just do this by gossiping with people in real life. And it just shows how people evolved in simple communication with the birth of this new internet. It's very fast. I find it super fascinating.
Do we mention Zane's quote-unquote girlfriend?
Oh, absolutely. We cover his quote-unquote girlfriend.
Oh wait, hold on. Is this
Oh, this is Corey's
Oh yeah, this is
girlfriend.
yeah, they both do the same thing. Where they both like they make another page, and if you check these pages, like, because in the game, since you're a like an internet police kind of person for Merchantsoft, you can check people's headband IDs, which is like their IP address.
Yes, exactly.
And Zane and the page saying that it's Zane's girlfriend, which is like a very minimal page that just says "I love Zane," basically. They both have the exact same headband ID.
I'll have you know, they just decided to move in together. They're just in such a successful, loving relationship. I will not stand for this slander.
But then, yeah, at the same time, a very similar thing is happening with Corey over here, where he also has a fake girlfriend page. His fake girlfriend page has a lot more effort put into it. I didn't actually notice this until now.
Yeah, and especially the amazing bouts of humor that she decides to gift us. Of what do you call it when a trumpet player bets he can do a higher note than Corey, but can't a trumpet player?
I think that
gold.
may be hinting at the fact that they are the same person, due to the fact that
my gosh,
on
yeah.
Corey's page he has puns like that listed as well, somewhere in there.
It's just the idea. I mean, absolutely. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
like
he has
the
a
fact
separate
that
joke
someone's
page.
page entirely. Oh my God! Wait, yeah. Oh, I think it's the same one. Oh no, never mind. But it's the idea of like, they're trying to make this girlfriend. I mean, it's literally the exact same of like when we were really young. Maybe you might have told the white lie of like, but like it is so self-congratulatory that to a kid it's like, well, you must be really cool, but then you're like, you age like maybe even 2 years, and you're just like, this is so self-congratulatory that of course you made it up. But again, like in your mind, you're just like, this is my way of like stepping myself up. Like, yeah, I was the coolest basketball player of my old town, but like you can't call any of them because they're all like scared of phones, so like they're not big fans of like talking about stuff. But like if you could contact them, they would say I'm like the coolest person or the best basketball player around.
Okay, so those two, we've got that section covered. We should also talk
Absolutely.
about Tim, and I believe Tiff was actually his girlfriend at the start here, but that does change.
Yes.
Let me find either of them. I'm not going to open Tim's page. That hurts.
Is it? Wait, are you sure it's not Tim and Jennifer? I thought Jennifer was the
Jennifer is Corey's fake girlfriend.
was. Oh, okay. Yeah, just remember it's like the
Yeah.
poem girl. Yeah.
Tiff is the Scaries creator.
Yeah.
They're like the creepypasta lover.
I just got the names confused. It has been more than a year since I last played, so names are definitely going to be a bit different from me. So I appreciate you offering the helping hand.
So yeah, a further thing that happens in this first time skip, because you do, like we mentioned earlier, you spend a lot of time into Utopia.
Oh, absolutely.
The next case, I believe, after the harassment one, is a bunch of pages getting like malware put on them. Which,
Yes.
if you're looking around, you'll notice that on Tiff's page, there's Digital Parasite Reborn, which is a scary she wrote up that Tim helped with. Tim, as I'm gonna submit it with this. Yes, there's a lot of spoilers. It's gonna have to happen. But yeah, Tim, he's the reason for the malware attacking the other pages, and coincidentally, he's doing it themed off of the scary for Tiff, in a way that he's trying to show off to a hacker group in game and to Tiff.
I completely forgot about the hacker group.
Yeah, he really wants to be a part of Minx, which is like an underground
Right.
hacker group. And Tiff is his girlfriend that he wants to show off to her. So he's using the scary that they work together to like show off to the other hackers. So everyone, all of the like, there's different characters in this scary. One is the rock star, which is Chowder Man in Cool Punk Paradise, who's an old washed up rock star. as it mentions in the scary, he's an old washed-up rock star. Furniture salesman,
Yes.
which I believe is the
That's the we just talked about them, but the Celtic the wizard guy
the
from
warlock
from the old person.
who does all
Again,
the
I'm
3D
awful with
animations,
names.
and yeah, he helps the people in Good Time Valley.
Good Time Valley, yes.
Yeah, lonely shaman, which is an open-eyed. I believe that's the guy that really really loves the psychic lady.
I believe so.
And the biker, which is just bluntly the biker from Good Time Valley as well. Every one of those pages has the malware on it, and there's a page for them in the scary that Tim and Tiff have worked on.
hmm And I believe Tim will play a much bigger, or is seen to be played as a much bigger role in the future as the story goes on. But, oh God, sorry. Mm. But yeah, no, the Tim's story, it's the beginning of how he will, I mean, corrupting websites, corrupting even a project that he's doing with someone that he, holds very dear. The whole arc that Tim kind of goes throughout the story, it is super interesting because eventually it's the lesson of realizing that even on the internet, like everything that you do is about compromise, and he very much is only thinking about how he can move up in this hacker group and how he can show off to his girlfriend, when in reality probably showing off to your girlfriend was not the reason she wanted to be with you in the first place. It is unfortunately something even offline you can see quite often, and it's a very interesting character study, to be sure.
And luckily, at the end of the game, you do get to see that like he realizes how in the wrong he is with like all
hmm
this trying to show off to people, because he's blamed for the mind crash, which kills people.
Yes.
And he joins the team for recovering like what Hypnospace was and archiving it.
Yes, and
But he
it's
has his
just
own page here that like he mentions that he feels bad about it, and that he was trying to like show off to his girlfriend and or ex-girlfriend at that time,
mhm.
who poetically also dies in said mind crash.
It's a very good tragedy, to be sure, and it's just absolutely, it's just such a rough story of just a lot of people where unfortunately their hubris just gets to them and bites them in the butt right when they think they have it all. It's a classic, but with this world of an evolving internet and someone trying to warp it into something that would best suit them and best benefit them. I personally find it very interesting.
In his in his mention in the intranet at the end, well, in the last time zone, which is modern day, it does kind of hint at like he might not be the person who caused what killed multiple people, because
hmm
he does it like he had no idea that what he was doing could even possibly harm people, because it couldn't. What he was
No.
doing was like just messing with people's web pages mostly. But what
Yeah.
happens, like, it crashes the entire software and hardware and straight up kills people because the hardware is affecting their brains.
It's a very good bait and switch as well, because Tim immediately from the gate is known to be somebody who is corrupting Hypnospace to fit, not like in a devious way, but at first it's like very small things of like messing with other people's websites in order to impress the hacker group, impress his girlfriend. But it's this idea of like you're just waiting for Icarus to fly too close to the sun, just go too far, and just absolutely ruin it for everybody else. It is a very classic story. And so, going when it happens and the big mind crash happens in Hypnospace, you're immediately like uh it's not incorrect or untoward for the player to immediately think, "Oh, Tim did this," because he just took it way too far. But, and then of course
Yeah,
the
it
twist that
is.
happens at the end, it is a very satisfying twist because I fell hook, line, and sinker for it. It's very well written.
I think Oh no, we're not done with Teentopia. There was only one time skip.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So we have the middle one of November 26th now. Do you remember what happens here? I believe I do.
Isn't this when you... So this is 1999. This is when the Mind Crash begin...
No, that's the
this
last
is
time
before Mind Crash. So this is when...
Actually, I do remember what happens here. What happened...
Yeah, go ahead.
This is after your system had crashed from testing Outlaw.
Right.
For the first time. You get your thing back, and the Hypnospace PD is backed up on cases like crazy because almost everyone's headsets had crashed, and they only had like 2 people working on cases for the past like however many weeks you were gone. November 5th to November 26th, you were not able to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically all of Hypnospace is now you're looking around it trying to find problems, and there's a few of them in Teentopia at this time, which are continued harassment cases, which has to do with Zane and Corey again, which if you follow these, if you actually do go and do these, because these are technically optional cases, if you go and do these cases, you can ban Corey and Zane from Hypnospace.
And I believe that's what I did in my playthrough.
Yeah, if you do not do these cases, Zane and I believe Zane and Corey both die in the mine crash.
Yeah, it's very interesting how eventually, you doing your job and getting, funnily enough, again, getting these people off the internet benefits them in a more interesting way than normal. But it is very interesting because, again, these people just felt so empowered by being able to be in this digital world of being whoever they want to be, that once they start butting heads, they think they can just go all out, not only because they just think that they have the power to do so, but they think they can get away with it, and they think they can fully separate themselves from it, that it doesn't matter what they say, because it's just text on a screen. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah, on November 26th, if you go to specifically Tiff's page, the first thing on her page is a message saying, "Dear HSPD enforcers, please look at the chat logs in this link and do something about these idiots." Because on a separate program that you cannot use as a enforcer, Corey and Zane are both contacting her and being creepy, to say the least.
Unfortunate. And basically you get the start of the lead, and you can realize that, yes, these people are very much doing that. But I believe this then leads you into basically you having to look through unlisted stuff, trying to find basically them leaving breadcrumbs on their own websites.
Yeah.
So then you can then report them for the infringements.
Yeah, there's just enough to report them on in this section to allow you to flag their accounts, which will ban them. But the extra, I guess the word would be bait and switch there, is that on Tiff's page, you can report those images, but they rack up points against her rather than them.
And that's the very interesting thing, and it's going to lead a lot of early players into a lot of confusion, and could lead some to actually, I'm sure it might give enough to, I don't know if it does give enough to ban Tiff, but
you can flag her, but they do be like, yeah, she didn't actually do anything here, and then it just tells you, no action was taken.
Yeah,
once the
so
next
it's just
time
a little
skip
bit
comes.
of it is just like kind of the beginning of like you being like, oh, if you're lost and you're like, well, can I just report this? And then you just realize, oh, this does nothing towards Zane or Corey, which unfortunately are the problem.
All right, and then the last section of Teentopia, which I don't know if we talk about this one because it is literally just the mine crash.
Yeah. It gets to the point where basically you have to get like an extra tool or two. You have to basically infiltrate Tim's website and all the different like little puzzles that you have to then figure out that this was all an elaborate. If I remember correctly, this is, can she save us? This is just a reference to Tiff. Basically, this was just an attempt made by Tim just so that he could get in contact with her again, because they, I'm assuming, cut contact at some point.
Yeah, and Tiff was getting tired of Tim essentially trying to show off with all the hacking and stuff and being weird about it. So she like starts cutting communication with him. So he does another big one where he just takes over all of Teentopia, and with like these big threatening things, being like, "Oh, the year 2000 mine crash is coming. Can she save us?" And the password to get through is the nickname he used for her as like a pet name, which if you look into Tiff's files, like in Flist, you can see her mentioning that she doesn't like that name, which kind of shows like Tim he's a stupid kid.
Yeah, unfortunately, very much didn't really value Tiff as a person, unfortunately, and then it just shows that he would think that she would drop everything to do all this when clearly this is just a desperate vid for attention. So there's even a bit more of a tragic element to it when Tiff isn't the one that solves this. This is you, the player, the officer, that's enforcing this because Tim is very much breaking whatever laws are in Hypnospace. And so so this part of the game ends with a very heartfelt message of Tim trying to apologize to Tiff. But quite literally, it falls on very deaf ears because we're not Tiff. Because Tiff very much just didn't do it. She didn't bite the bait. She was like, "Hey, can you please fix this?"
She was online, however. We know this because only online people could be killed by the mine crash.
Yes, the people connected to the headsets.
But yeah, this is also where you get your suspicion that like Tim couldn't have caused the mine crash because you solved the mine crash minutes before it happens.
Yes, and it's then afterwards, post to the final time skip is when, it finally starts coming to where it's like, oh wait, you know more than they would like you to know.
Yeah, after you've started doing a little bit of archiving, someone from the past contacts you and is like, "Hey, I don't think Tim did it. I need your help finding evidence for this." And so you got to go through all of the archives of the time that of every time you've opened Hypnospace, so these 3 time skips areas, there, to find evidence that Merchant Soft knew that Hypnospace could hurt someone and that Tim is innocent.
And it's just, again, going through all of this to finding this deep interconnecting web of storylines, plot lines, and people that very much lived their lives on the Hypnospace that so much work and dedication and amazing writing had to be just put together and mastered in order for this to be made. And I cannot give this game praise enough for that.
Oh yeah, there's a really long YouTube video called "The Humanity of Hypnospace Outlaw" I remember watching.
Oh.
And that I've started just saying like the game is human because like I've gotten it from that video. It's human is the right way the right way to explain this game. Because every person is a person with like their own interests and flaws, and you can look into literally any character and they don't even have to be related to the game and they will have like a full something going on.
It is very much like when, I can't remember the exact game, I think it was Oblivion. When Oblivion came out, the big selling point for it was how every NPC had a schedule. And it was groundbreaking to see. Like, you could follow one NPC and you could watch them walk, talk to their person that they're assigned to at this time, go to this other place to go to a restaurant, and then go back to their room at night. It was groundbreaking, and just, even with the fact that it's not like an NPC that you watch like a daily schedule of, just this interconnecting thick web of people, just their interactions and how they evolve as characters. I mean, Tim, again, great example of this, where you just see him evolve and interact with so many people, all of it to culminate into the end of the game. It is very satisfying, and I feel like it is never, it's never a wasted opportunity. I always feel like it's very well done.
I believe that's all of Teentopia, which is going to be a bit of a tonal shift here, going from like Teentopia where like major story beats happen, which I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised we kind of didn't spoil the ending all outright there. Like the twist is still there, so I expect the professor to go and play this still.
You should. It's really good. You can
We
guess
know
who
you got a lot
convinced
of
me
things
to
in your
play
backlog,
it.
but play it. It's okay. Anyways, into Cool Punk, which is it's like a music zone
It is.
based
It's
off of a parody of Coca-Cola, where people were
yeah.
making Coca-Cola ads essentially, Coca-Cola in this universe is Gray's Peak, and they started making parody ads using the Gray's Peak ads to make music that was normally like criticizing capitalism and such.
Yeah.
Which ironically leads to this zone coming to be and being sponsored by Gray's Peak and becoming very corporate and capitalist.
Yeah, and it's again another beautiful case study even in first impressions alone of just how brands can take a property and just ruin it. I mean, immediately my first example of this is Club Penguin, believe it or not, and how like Disney kind of just used Club Penguin once they purchased it after seeing like the pure popularity it became to children of all ages into becoming basically their advertisement for their next Disney movies by having, oh, now we're going to have the Frozen season, we're going to have the Avengers season, when it started off as like this thing where everybody could just communicate and just like it was just this safe space for children on the internet. And I mean, it's a bit more mature than that with Cold Punk, especially because it's a blossoming music area, and then being of course bought by a corporation and then turning it into a completely different identity into what it stood for. But it is just again, taking inspiration from so many real world examples, especially when it comes to the internet, and just putting its own unique spin on it. It's just, and again, it not feeling, I guess, not obvious or forced in a way. I just find that very commendable. Commendable? Yeah.
Okay, so there's like two big events I'd say happened here, and that would be the entirety of Cool Fest, which you learn like about throughout the time skips rather than in one, and Fungus Scene like appearing and starting to grow.
Yes.
Which Fungus Scene, my favorite music in the whole game.
I need to listen back on some Fungus Scene because it has been a long time. I usually
you'll hear
just
some
listen...
in a little bit here. I'll open it up in a sec.
Oh, absolutely.
I might play some in the background for the audio here. The professor will see, but
yeah, just some nice background music. We're doing you a favor. Hopefully, this will convince you to buy the game and play it for yourself. So, fingers crossed.
This combined with the past two projects all being about Hypnospace.
I will say, Professor, I was invited here because I was told that if I did make my case, you would buy the game. So, just know that if you don't, I'm never helping your amazing student ever again. So, just letting you know, just saying.
But yeah, okay, so first thing, I think we talk about Cool Fest first.
Absolutely, because immediately as soon as I think of Cool Fest, Chowderman is the immediate first guy that I think of.
Chowderman in the game is also a hot dad on YouTube. If you want to look him up, he makes a lot of funny songs.
Yeah, he does the very infamous, at least in the community that I partake in, Granny Cream Hot Butter Ice Cream.
That is,
I can
in
still
this
do
game
that
as
word
well.
for word. Yeah.
Yeah, Granny Cream's Hot Butter Ice Cream is in Good Time Valley. It's an ice cream brand in the game.
It is hot butter ice cream that you're supposed to microwave, and it's just one of the catchiest songs in the entire game.
I love that it always catches people off guard. It caught the professor off guard in my intro to video game design class.
Good.
I remember him opening it up.
Supposed to.
I remember him Googling. No, he Googled Hypnospace and saw someone's like wallpaper.
Professor never Googled Granny Cream ever.
I mean, I'm sure Hypnospace's version would come up first, hopefully. Okay, so there may be a bit of a sound cut here because Curb had a crash.
Wow, I can't believe immediately I'm getting called out here.
Yeah.
That is messed up. Just like how segue how the people of Coolfest got called out for not having the best event.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about. We talked about
He
Coolfest,
doesn't.
but
They don't need to know what we missed
oh,
out
they're
on.
gonna
We
know.
can just get onto it. I feel like I'm being guilt tripped here. It's not even my own class project. That's messed
So
up, man.
Coolfest was a convention for the cool punk scene that this one was shaping up to be very, very corporate,
Yeah.
with the two main people being Freezer and Chowderman. Freezer being like a major creator for cool punk, and Chowderman being a washed up rock star, which I think we talked about before the crash.
Yeah, just basically this entire thing just being we're going to get into it, but Chowderman, his entire character arc is basically very similar to Tim's, where instead of being someone trying to aspire to be a big hacker, it's a guy aspiring to hopefully get whatever fame he felt before, and unfortunately it leads to some dire consequences during Coolfest 99.
Yeah, so two major controversies happened during Coolfest. The first one being with Freezer, where he's caught lip syncing, and people are not big fans of that.
No.
Seeing him as like a corporate sellout because he's gone to this whole event that's like sponsored by Grace Peak and selling Grace Peak merch to everyone, and he's up here singing about Grace Peak when originally the whole genre was about criticizing Grace Peak and like how corporate it is.
Yes,
but then
and
looking into him, you find out that the person on stage that was caught lip syncing was lip syncing because it wasn't even actually him, because he suffers from social anxiety and couldn't do live shows, not comfortably in the very least.
We've all been
But
there.
yeah, he's also pretty well as upset with what's happened with Cool Punk as everyone else, because he goes off to make Fungus Scene, because he makes a separate account called Father Fungus, which I believe Minx also points it out, the hacker group, that he and Father Fungus have the same headband ID. And if you look into them, you see that.
I was gonna say, I wondered how that was figured out, if not for just like someone on a website saying it. But yeah, I remember like looking at this. I didn't know this. I was so oblivious. But like looking back on this, it's also very interesting. One, how like resilient the internet is when finding a new fad as soon as it kind of gets not overblown or what am I trying to think? But it's like once something gets picked up by, the more corporate identity or what have you, a lot of people are pretty prone to find alternatives. I mean, right now, I think originally I equated this to how, like with Cool, what is it, Cool Punk?
Yeah, Cool Punk.
I equated this to like Club Penguin and how Disney overtook it. But I mean, an even more recent example is the whole Twitter X debacle and Blue Sky, which that especially is more prevalent here, where it was taken over by a more corporate entity. A lot of people used Twitter to talk about stuff like how Twitter is most often used for YouTube. When like something bad happens on YouTube, you don't go to YouTube to talk bad about YouTube. You go to Twitter to @YouTube support, so then they can take action on the problem. It's stuff like that where eventually it got picked up by Elon Musk. Not at all what we're going to be talking about in this discussion, but just the fact that how the fungus scene of that area is Blue Sky, and how that is now such a blossoming community. I just find that very similar to how it's been done with Fungus Scene.
And then the second controversy of Coolfest being Chowderman's helicopter crash. So during Chowderman's show, he does a big stunt with a helicopter where he's going to land it on the stage, but the helicopter crashes, Chowderman loses his leg, and his drummer loses his life.
Okay, yeah, so I guess whenever I played this originally, I always thought that Chowderman, his drummer, lost his leg. I never understood that the drummer just straight up, like, croaked. I didn't understand that.
No, yeah,
So that is
he
like
full on
even
died.
worse.
Which
Oh my
which
goodness.
drives Chowder Man into like a spiral of depression, losing his friend and also his career.
Oh my
If
gosh,
you
yeah, absolutely.
and then you look into him, if you look into him on his list, you see that at this time, at the time frame of November 26th, he now has a file on there just titled "One-Legged Man," where he's writing a new song out of grief for the multiple losses he's having.
Fascinating. Man, that hits even deeper than I thought it did, because I always thought it was just dedicating the lost leg of his friend. That's even worse. Oh my gosh. And it's just, again, just because this one, again, a lot of people in here are just, the idea of hubris is very prevalent in the world of Hypnospace Outlaw, whether that be Tim, someone that we will be discussing at the end of the time skips and all that, and Chowderman, where a lot of, and Zane, oh my gosh, and Zane, where a lot of people just, they get so empowered by Hypnospace and the idea of being able to reach so many more new people that it leads them to do so many unfortunately dangerous and harmful acts onto either themselves or others.
And then, as a result of all of this happening and Cool Punk just exploding on itself there, Fungus Scene
very
is
much
made by Freezer. No one knows it's Freezer except for, like, specifically Minx, because they can see. And that makes some of my favorite music in the game. I'm trying
Yeah,
to find
I
it
definitely
again.
have to. I have to peep these at some point again.
Yeah, so you go like they make this whole like combo page where they've got like the cavern, which is just like atmospheric sounds with like stuff you can click on that play sound effects that.
It
can,
is
like,
definitely
make-
one of the cooler websites out there.
Yeah, it makes like a vibe room.
Oh, very much so.
Oh yeah, and then there's this kid. Yeah, there's this kid called Drip Boy who like he loves Cool Punk, but then when Cool Punk dies, he now loves Fungus Scene.
Yeah.
He's real excited. He has like the energy, but he like really over encroaches on spots that he's not supposed to be. Like he'll start
Yeah.
putting like mushrooms on people's pages and stuff. Like he's got the passion, but he's really like loud about it in a way
Yeah.
that's not good for everyone else.
And it
I feel like
most
there's a better
likely
way to
is
word
just
that.
Oh yeah. I mean it's somebody who just feels like they found a community that they can be a part of. Maybe it's due to, maybe just not having that in real life. And so having this escapism, and just unfortunately they get so excited that they just they get clingy, or they make full-on text edits onto websites that really they shouldn't be doing, and unfortunately it's gonna lead into some unfortunate disagreements. Yeah, Drip Boy. Goodness.
Yeah, he starts making his own music and stuff and everything, but yeah, he gets into like disagreements with Father Fungus about like, hey, can you stop messing with other people's pages, please? And he's like, oops, sorry.
Yeah, because again, it's like
Yeah,
one
he's
of the
not
few
trying to
times
cause
that-
harm, but he's definitely annoying people.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is one of the times where it's just genuinely somebody that's just got too excited, and it's just a new scene. They just really want to feel like they belong in a place, and so they try really hard to. Sorry.
I may have just opened Dripper's page.
That's messed up. You better be playing this in the
Yeah.
background so that your professor hears
Yeah,
this.
I'll have to
This
play
is
the mushroom hop in the
messed
background here.
Oh god. That is awful. But again, it's just, and I'm sure it's like
Just a
there's
kid
a lot
who's
of
really
people.
passionate.
It is that person. It's the equivalent of like the kid that is just so excited with their new drawing that they are showing everybody. They're like begging mom to put it on the fridge. They're like bragging about their new drawing to their siblings. The siblings immediately want to deck him in the face. It is that enthusiasm. It's toxic enthusiasm, and that doesn't really get discussed a lot in a lot of media. So it's really cool to see it here.
And then like immediately after his page, you get into the, like, once I get like, this is exactly what I was talking about with like, this is my favorite music in the game here.
It is very atmospheric. Very,
it's like
very
it's got like a
reminiscent.
jazz feel to it too. Like,
Very much so. A lot of the times it can sound like just something that could be put in the lobby of a Jackbox game. And that is like such a high compliment that I can give something.
just a note for me here. I'm putting formations in the background here, as that is what we are listening to and referring to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the page right after Drip Boy in the cavern is the page for formations, which has the lyrics for it listed as The Fool, and then it's got all the lyrics to the song listed with like a cavern aesthetic going on with mushrooms lining the sides of the page.
And it's just, again, just like a website that can be just this creatively done. You do not see this anymore. And it's so cool of all. Again, not only does this show like the consequences of what people like, unfortunately effing around to find out like what happens, of like the dangers they can cause on the internet, but it's just also, man, all of the stuff that we left behind as well in terms of like being able to everybody having their own website. There wasn't like one big website where everybody watched videos. Everybody had their own like video sharing websites or hosted it on their own websites, having their own little, I mean, like YouTube allowed you to like decorate your own like entire layout of the YouTube where you can have like entire like background images.
Yeah, the old
of
like
your own
MySpace
branding.
customization.
It is such a shame because, man, people, I mean, there's a website that you use as well. I always, it's like
NeoCities.
what?
I
Yeah.
recommend NeoCities. It's really cool.
It's
got
is
like
just
that old internet
insane.
aesthetic going on because everyone there, it's the entire point of the website is to make websites that will last, because like if a language updates or stops being supported, it's just going to be dropped. But HTML and CSS, they're here to stay. So all the websites there are only allowed to use HTML and CSS.
And it's just so cool. And again, it's just like, again, something that unfortunately we can't show because this is mostly an audio discussion, but just the visuals will wash over you, especially when it comes to Fungus Scene.
Yeah. The like Fungus Scene's whole thing is vibes.
Yes, occasionally interrupted
by
that one guy.
By Drip Boy dropping a jumping mushroom and some like brightly bold text between the lyrics of "Do I not know what I know?" and a big empty space to build a vibe, and then "Am I inadequate?" Like it's like the song is like heartfelt. And then you got Drip Boy here in the middle. I like how you spaced your words the song across the whole page, literally in the middle of the lyrics.
It is something else. Because again, I mean, honestly, they also show that like websites that are able to be this customizable can also be just as transformed if like hacked or something, which is shown through like Tim's attacks on the web pages during his like the whole scary thing that he makes with Tiffany.
Yeah, we can talk about those once we get to Starport Castle's Dream Station, which is next.
Yeah.
I think we've actually finished with Cool Punk as well.
It is one of the areas that I always like remember very fondly. Like Teentopia is iconic, but I always do think about the areas that, especially the one we're probably going to be going into next, but Cool Punk Paradise as well, where it is just such condensed. Like this one especially is just such a condensed story, just put into one series of websites, and it's just amazing. I love it.
Oh yeah, since Cool Punk explodes in November 26th. At December 31st, which is the next time skip, the last one in the game before modern time is started, the zone is renamed to the Venue.
Right.
Where it's like just a bulk zone for music enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's playing Seepage, which is it's the band that Zane really likes.
Okay.
But I think there's another genre that pops up here that's kind of like a meme. That's kind of a meme. Oh yeah, Inspiro Haze, which is just like you can do it. It's hard to explain this, so this one is definitely one I'm gonna have to put in the background here, because it's just like music that's like repeating like you can do it, and like there's one that's just the promotion. It's like good job on the promotion. I knew you could do it.
And again, it's also very reminiscent of very experimental music. I mean, it wouldn't be experimental if it wasn't trying stuff I wouldn't even think about doing.
It's just such a strange thing to suddenly show up. And once again, this is in the December 31st time skip, so people miss this. People just 100% miss this because the mind crash is happening in Teentopia. You are not looking at any of the other zones.
And it's also just the fact that like the game also presents the mind crash as such a sense of haste and urgency that you feel like if you don't do it in time, and it's good, it's very well done that it gives you this feeling of like the ticking clock of like the bad thing about to happen. But it is something to say that like even then it gets to the point where then after that time skip of the time crash, you're just baffled by all the stuff you missed because of the events, because being in the moment, and that just goes to show how well the game just immerses you in this world.
Yeah, it helps sell the whole world too. It's just like this all happened while I was over there dealing with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, even then, like nowadays on YouTube, like a lot of the stuff I'll watch is like hour-long video. Like it's like the new thing where it's like this thing that you didn't know existed, because again, the internet is so freaking vast and like, again, like you're not going to be a part of every clique and niche, so you're not going to know everything that happens. And so it's just really cool to see that that exact world takes place here in Hypnospace.
I think that's all of Cool Punk handled now. So we're technically over the amount of time I needed, but editing this down, it's probably going to be way shorter.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Starport Castle, Dream Station.
This one's probably, just in terms of concept and the story that takes place in this one might be my personal favorite.
It's definitely like it's one of the more interesting zones, especially because of like how you navigate it.
I was just about to say that just the experience of going through this place is by far one of the most interesting throughout Hypnospace, and again the underlying story of why it is like this, of this geeks, nerds, and other citizens with niche interests, which is very ironic that all the people with niche interests are all being melded into one giant central server. It is just walking, what is it? Just walking irony, a walking just false statement. It's bizarre. An oxymoron, that's what it is.
Yeah, so Starport Castle Dream Station comes to be, you don't get to see it on screen. This is just a zone that you unlock, and you learn how it came to be. It's called Starport Castle Dream Station because that's a combination of like multiple different zones that used to be. One for like sci-fi enjoyers, one for cogpunk enjoyers, which is like steampunk, but like with cog, more focused on cog work stuff. Castle being fantasy, and Dream Station is the cogpunk part.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, it's those zones. Oh yeah, it actually lists all of them. So yeah, Sci-Fi Starport used to be one, gamers only. So there's gamers in this zone. I always forget about the Observer.
Gamers.
The comic shop, so comic enjoyers. The Dream Castle, which is a fantasy zone, and Cybercog Station, which is the Cybercog people.
Mm-hmm. And then there's even the Bull Ring is for like a famous comic book. Linda's horror page is about all of the
the scaries. Linda is actually the friend of Tiff, who they start making collabs later on in the game. Aww. And I believe in the first time skip, if you go to Tiff's page, she does link to a thing from Linda that you can look at in the first time skip. But it's like one of the smaller things. But as they go,
I faintly remember that.
Yeah, Tiff and Linda, they hit it off.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. Good for them.
But
after the friends that she has before that, she deserves it.
Yeah, she's not doing well in Teentopia.
She is a trooper.
But yeah, once you get Starport Castle Dream Station, I believe the case you are on is to find an illegal program that's like speeding up servers. Well, no, speeding up people's like hardware to give them faster load times, and it's not allowed by Merchant
Right.
Soft. Which you find out the reason for that thing's creation by doing this. So you come here and you find out like, oh, there's only like 4 pages listed here, and they all are like marked as like moved out. We're not using this page anymore. And then there's one other one that's like Sovereign Alliance of Imagination. You go to that one, and it leads to there's a button to explore the Freelands, which is this whole like drawn out map that has some
love
Chowderman
this so
music playing
much.
in the background.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so we had another crash.
It totally could have been anyone's fault. Anyone could have done that.
But luckily it wasn't very far. We get to the Freelands, where there's a full drawn out map that the player can explore by clicking arrows around that has landmarks on it.
It is by far one of the best puzzles in the entire game. It's one of the most memorable, for me at least.
Yeah, so you click any of the landmarks and it goes to people's pages.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the like nerds and geeks and stuff, they have their pages here, like the gamers, the comic people.
It is, and I just... No, go ahead.
And there's a file here, supposedly, that gives a speed boost to anyone using it. But while you're here, you'll also notice that your load times are much slower too.
Oh, yeah.
Which you find out through doing this that, like, if you look deeper into how the Freelance came to be and everything, you find out that, like, there's 2 CEOs at the top of Merchant Soft, which you work for, and you do know about them. It's Dylan Merchant and Adrian Merchant. Dylan Merchant being, like, the programming brother and, like, the nerd of them. And
He's the
Adrian
Todd
being...
Howard.
Yeah, and Adrian being, like, the big business guy that... super about money and treating it like a business. He does not like the nerds and stuff. And he doesn't like that Hypnospace is, like, full of nerds and such. So he's in a bid to try to pull more quote-unquote normal people to Hypnospace, he tells them to move all the geeks and nerds to the clunker. In literally his words.
So my god, I completely forgot about that.
So they've merged all these zones into an outdated server that's running really poorly. You feel it in the game whenever you're going through the zone and everything's loading super slow.
I completely forgot about this part. And I was going to say, like, it is just like the ultimate irony how they did that so that all of these people can just be grouped up and kind of, just be left to rot in Hypnospace. And then ultimately, they did band together, but, like, not for the reasons they thought. Like, now they've banded together and made their own area, but now it's completely out of spite.
And another important note about this is that in this zone is one of the people that helped to develop Hypnospace. And that's Roddy, who runs the Bull Ring.
Right.
He helped make, like, the pet system and a lot of the coding for it, and he's, like, he's friends with Dylan.
Yeah, and he even is in charge of system that is basically because of him working on the pets, that actually goes into a puzzle that I found super cool once I eventually got it. But I will save it for you, so you play the game for yourself.
Yeah, so you also find out Roddy is the creator of this program that you're coming to get rid of. But he's built in, like, trials into this map that people who know about the people of this zone, like, because they have a really close-knit community here. They all know each other, they're all friends. So they tried to make it so that way only they could reach the program to download it. So you have to go through all of their pages and learn about each of these people, and therefore learn about the zone and learn about their problems with Merchant Soft before you can get this file and then remove it for Merchant Soft.
It clearly is just like the part of the game where, and you do see it. I mean, this happens, I think right before this. This is before you first play Outlaw as well. And it's just like, it's basically the rising tension of you're starting to see, and it's starting to very obviously give the hints of, like, the true quote-unquote villain of Hypnospace Outlaw. Because I feel like there's no real heroes and villains. There's no one that's truly good or truly bad. But it is truly just a bunch of flawed humans. I would say probably the business guy is the most of a dick, but I mean, for what like this area is. But it clearly just shows that, it's just a lot of people learning how to navigate this world of like this like new blossoming internet in their world, and it just leads to, unfortunately, a long domino chain of people making bad decisions that just leads to the inevitable ending of Hypnospace being this very bittersweet ending that you should definitely experience for yourself.
Oh yeah, and there's another controversy that does happen like within the freelance that I know when I watched you play it, you did not discover this.
I often don't discover things. That is my character trait.
But yeah, Sanders, who is the guy who makes the freelance, he's like a bit of a control freak. As you can see with, like, if you go to these Northwest zones,
yeah,
you can see him, like, putting citations down for customizations the person has done to that area. And he's banned someone from here, too. But, like, he's a bit of a control freak, and Minx is also involved, because they have, like, their own secret island that you can only find in a certain way.
Oh, okay.
He also is, like, control freaking on them, giving them citations on their hidden page about, like, oh, stop removing my music from this page. No, it has to look this way. Like, the hackers don't like that. So whenever you get to the final time skip, which you only look at this while you're searching for whatever. Yeah, this is after. You only see this after the mine crash has happened, unless you just happen to check the freelance while the mine crash is happening, but you're unlikely to check that, and they don't want you to check that during that time, so that way you can be like, what the heck happened here? So you go to the freelance. Yeah, you go to the freelance at December 31st, and it's, like, just demolished. There's scrolling text being like, the freelance is closed. One of the people from Minx has, like, left a note up here, like, renovations by me. And if you go to a secret island, that's where some very important stuff is in place.
Yeah, I was going to say, I faintly remember going there, but yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, like, you can see that this place is just, like, demolished. Things are, like, rotated, thrown around. He's, like, ruined the map.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just, it literally is, like...
He is trying to do something good in the background. But he's also, like, really sick of Sanders, like, micromanaging his island, where he's trying to back up some very important files.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are, like, the two main dramas for the entirety of Starport Castle Dream Station.
Yeah, I think it's just mostly just the idea of what it is, like, being, like, all of these people being shoved into the clunker, and... but it's just the story of this place, and it's just so, it is, like, again, just this big story, and it's just, especially with the world building and this just giant act of defiance and them trying their hardest just to have a community on this blossoming internet. That's just so, it is, again, just this tragedy that just kind of, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, where, I mean, it's like the same thing of, like, having a bunch of high school clubs and they just get put in the janitor's closet, for God's sake. And so but, like, they have this group of people, they want to be together, they want to spend this time together and have this, like, mutual interest, and just to be just blatantly told that they're not respected, they don't want to be, they don't want to be prioritized, and it is just a damn shame. But really well done. Well, story. It's a good story. I like.
There's one more zone after that that's open-eyed, but I can only think of, like, one thing that happens in it, because I'm not gonna lie, I have not looked super deep into open-eyed. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's more going on here, but there's only one thing I actually know about that's going on behind the scenes.
This is when the Professor Helper is introduced, and it is basically the equivalent of, like, your bonsai buddy, your ransomware. It is. Basically, this is when you get asked to find basically people that are trying to use this alternate form of currency, and you use Professor Helper because Professor Helper is basically sponsored by these brands that are asking to be paid with this new currency. And basically, by downloading this like adware, you go to those ads, they show you where these like places using this different currency are, and then you rightfully so report them. And you do not get to remove Professor Helper for a while unless you save a lot of money. So he becomes this loving leech on your system where every now and then, as you're trying to make serious story progress, he'll go, Professor Helper here, ready to help. And you just get the exact same, like, you just want a cruise. Here's some like apocalypse survival booklets you can buy.
Yeah, the Y2K panic showing up. I always like looking at his page and noticing the like grayed out legal text that's just literally the entire page long.
Yeah, it's blatantly made visually to be hard to read so that you're like, just screw it, I'll just download it and not read the text. Nowadays, you can
and
put
it's all the stuff that people don't like
page
in these, so...
Yeah. Nowadays, you can put entire 30-page user agreements, and people will just not read them anyways, so there's no point in hiding it anymore.
Are you crashed?
No.
All right.
There's
one other thing.
How dare you? How dare you assume?
There's one other thing here that I can think of, because I honestly forgot that Professor Helper's in this zone. That's actually a pretty big one.
Yeah.
What the thing I was thinking of was the like dynamic between Sherry Heels and I believe it's Gus's Temple of Serenity.
Yeah, you're going to be the one who's going to do the heavy lifting here, because I don't remember a lot of this. I just know this because of the how Gus is used for, I believe specifically, yeah, he was the one that got hacked by Tim. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the wheelchair guy.
Yeah.
So
good vibes as well on this website.
Yeah, what goes on between him and Sherry Heels? Sherry Heels is like an internet psychic who like very obviously is faking.
Oh my god!
Like you read anything from her pages, and it's just like, yes, this is very openly supposed to tell you that she's fake.
Yeah, you can get a I think you can get you can consult Sherry. This is one of the ones that you actually have to go out of your way to find the alternate currency for.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get a consultation, and then eventually she'll be like, to get my actual services, you can pay with this alternate currency. Which this alternate currency is just kind of a way to bypass the percentage that the big corporation gets, which is funny because, again, as being hired by them, you're forced to take down. Kind of similar to how a lot of places try to go away from like Steam or Apple that take a big cut out of their percentage fees. That's why I think Fortnite still isn't on Apple. I think that's the case, yeah. So, fun way of thinking that.
So yeah, well, Sherry's running this business on the side here. Gus, he loves Sherry, like infatuated with Sherry.
Yeah.
To the point where he's like a repeat customer of hers, but like he doesn't go out and say that he loves her or anything. I think.
Oh.
So he's like that kind of into her, where he's just like repeatedly throwing her money. And just showing up for consultations, even though he's not there for it. You just crashed again, didn't you?
No. Gus is a tier 3 sub.
Oh yeah, he's a tier 3 sub.
That's genuine. That is just by like
that is their dynamic.
That is literally just a mystic spin on like unfortunately like vulnerable like people that get taken advantage of because they think they can have a relationship with a stranger on the internet. They just have to give them more money.
Yeah, he never like actually meets her either. God. Yeah, you're right.
No.
It's literally he's the tier 3 sub dynamic.
It's literally a tier 3 sub simp. Like this is again like oh man, and it's so fun to find all these similar like that's probably one of my favorite things about Hypnospace and the world of it is that you can easily find similarities with all of these things, but they're so well done and uniquely done that maybe you don't think about it at the first glance, but then when you're like, oh, this is this is just a stand-in for tier 3 subs. This is just a stand-in for alternate forms of currency like Bitcoin. Oh, this is a alternate take on corporations taking over something that was once good, like Club Penguin or Twitter. And it's like and some of these are like done before like the more recent examples are done. And I just find that this has aged so well because so many of these can still be
It's
so
just
well related
consistent
to.
stuff, yeah.
It is so well done. And again, just massive props to the writer team, the world building. Just so good. It's so good.
Other than that, though, I don't think there's really much else going on in OpenEye that I can detect. It's mostly like conspiracy theorists and stuff. So if you
Yeah.
can like check in on them and be like, oh hey, they're still on it.
It is definitely the one that you look at the least, but still, it is still really cool. It's just unfortunately, it's oh yeah, tennis is a lie. I forgot about tennis is a lie. And then it's like, and this is just like a deep dive into just the major plot points and the major characters, and just how they react to the major events. And it is just, it's really cool. But like, truly to understand the world of Hypnospace, you have to do what every desperate netizen does, and it is clicking on every link you see and just reading every bit of flavor text, looking at every website, seeing how they're all uniquely laid out, and just seeing, again, just how wide open of a world the internet is, and especially in Hypnospace. It is just so, it is such a beautiful piece of a genuine art of just a time capsule of what the internet used to be and how we literally like we history has doomed to repeat us in many scenarios.
Also, yeah, hey, update on the Gus and Sherry thing. I have just checked the last time skip and seen that they do
What?
eventually start talking. It looks like.
That is
And she starts linking his page on her page. He started as a frequent client and has turned out to be a really amazing person. Please do visit his
Dear
page.
God.
It's a work of art. And then she was banned because I banned her, but you know.
you got in the way of a loving relationship.
Yeah.
I hope you can live with yourself.
I don't think Sherry is on during the mine crash. So she's like a side ban that you can just do.
That is awesome.
Like you don't save her life by banning her.
No.
She's just gone.
Yeah,
I don't
the
know if
funny
you can do that
thing,
with
too.
Gus.
Wait, scroll up. They banned her from Hypnospace. I don't understand. I am destroyed.
Oh yeah, that's Gus's
Gus Parker's status. Oh.
Yeah, Gus's new status if you ban Sherry.
Dude, and that sucks too, especially when she. Oh my God! Wait.
She finally
I am
started
utterly
acknowledging him.
alone.
Oh man, we ruined this guy's life.
We are watching. the.
You're
this
hearing a
guy's
new
Twitter
discovery.
profile picture go black.
You're hearing
This
a
is
new
bad.
discovery in this game after I've played it 4 times and watched
welcome.
multiple friends play it. Like,
What can I say?
that is how juicy this game is.
It is. Like, genuinely, there is always something. It's like how there's a streamer who plays Chrono Trigger, and he's done it. It's his favorite game of all time. Over and over again, he'll play it like once every few years, and every time he'll find something new. This is one of those games that one playthrough genuinely is not enough, and it's a genuinely. I'm very grateful that I've been able to kind of get the spark notes of like what happened, because it's so fun to just see it all over again. And then also, we're currently right now looking at stuff that this game has very easy mod support. I think it's just like there's just plugins that you can get in from the game itself.
If you buy the
And it
game,
just
it
adds
does
extra
actually.
websites.
It comes bundled with a page builder and like an audio builder, so
Yeah.
you can like make your own Hypnospace web pages and mod them in. We're
It's so
looking at
cool.
one for Redbox right now.
Yeah,
I mostly
Redbox.
just open it for the background music, but
I would say if it wasn't for the fact that the Spotify Wrapped sucked this year,
Oh, it
Redbox would
did.
still be number one. It's been number one ever since it's been. I've listened to it on Spotify. I've always been. It's like top 0.5%.
he
Anyways,
managed to be up there in my top 5. But I think my number like 1 through 3 were all things that the shuffle just happened to like. Like,
yeah,
not
that's
things that I
it's the
actively
exact same
selected.
thing. It sucks. It sucks. The big thing was like that's the same thing with like my top artist. My top artist was like the 8-bit big band, but that was because I was fucking shovel fed that in my ugh. Completely off topic.
Completely off topic, but also we've kind of gone through everything.
Yeah, no, Hypnospace is definitely like the major plot points of Hypnospace. But if this interests you, you will, and if you like a good meaty game, Hypnospace is definitely one of them. Just exploring a world, not even like focusing on the cases, just clicking on every website, reading every entry, just seeing the world that exists in this. It's so good.
Yeah, this is
Can't
literally
recommend
just
it enough.
us going through the dialogue. Oh, no, this was just us going through what happens in each zone. These aren't even story events, except for the ones that were, which we mentioned. They were story events, mostly involving the mine
Yeah.
crash with Teentopia. But
We we are gushing over a game for academic credit, and all I will say is that you allowed it. If
he
I get it,
encouraged it. Thank you.
if Reed gets a good grade, you're welcome. And if not, I can't believe you, Reed. That's crazy.
I'll have you know he specifically requested I do Hypnospace characters for my final.
Oh, you're not half bad, random stranger. I'll probably never meet. You're chill. I'm sure you are. Yeah,
And
no,
that's where I'm ending the recording.
We are ending the recording here.